For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Former Miss SA Basetsana Kumalo joins me to discuss her memoir titled Bassie, My Journey of Hope. In your book, you also addressed the issue of women abuse. It was said to read that the guy many South Africans loved, and we used to call him the Rose of Soweto, Dingan Tobela, physically abused you. Why was it not easy for you to leave him? And what would you say to those stuck in abusive relationships?
We live in a country where South Africa is literally at war with its women. We live in a country where every 3 hours a woman is murdered by a partner. We live in a country where the stats, we have 5 times higher than the global rate of gender-based violence. That's disheartening. Femicide is a reality. Women are being murdered every day. Women are being abused every day. And so for me, it was important to tell my story because gender-based violence knows no class, no color, no race, no religion, no social economic status. It happens to many of us. And I wanted to give it a face, to say it also looks like Basetsana. It also looks like somebody who is economically emancipated. And there's so much shame around abuse where women are afraid to speak. Firstly, because you think, who's going to believe you? We live in a society where even the Institute of Justice sometimes don't serve women well in that hour of need. You go to a police station, it's only men, or mostly men, who have to take your statement. And many a times women have spoken to, you get mocked. Many a times your docket goes missing. Many a times your case is not followed through. And so the patriarchal society we live in, it makes it so hard for women to come out. Because then they'll be double victimized by institutions that's supposed to protect us, and then equally so by your communities sometimes, where you are not necessarily believed of your story. So for me, why it was important that when I was ready at the right time, I will tell my story in my own voice. And in doing so, I've reclaimed my power back. When you own your own truth and you use your own voice to hopefully impact other people's lives positively and give them that sense of belief that I too can, Basetsana left. Because if I didn't leave, I probably would not be sitting here with you today, having this conversation. So it is a very sad time in our country to see how just the rate has escalated, but equally so, I'm very, very optimistic with what the president has pronounced now going forward. The perpetrators won't get bail. That perpetrators, when they are sentenced, they will serve time. That the police system is going to be trained better to handle such cases, and that just the ecosystem around how women should be treated, even at hospitals, you know, when women are raped, how they should be treated and handled and given that care for women to come to on the other side and find healing, and that they could continue to raise their children. And so it's something that it cuts so deep to me, and because I've been through that, and that's why I am a firm advocate that no, not under my watch, not in this generation. It has to stop. Gender-based violence has to stop. It can't be. That in 2019, we have such a violent society. It's unacceptable.
You also went through 7 miscarriages. That must have been extremely tough, but the support from your family helped you a lot. Tell us about that period and how you felt when Nati was born in 2005.
You know, when I was writing my book, I realized, Bastani, you've been through a lot in life. You've lost your parents. You've had 7 miscarriages. So there's a lot of loss in the book. There's some deep, dark moments in the book that I open myself to share. I'm very vulnerable in the book in that I'm bearing my soul. And I was only going to write a book that was honest, that was candid, that was raw, that was authentic, and that was true. And so losing children is probably one of the hardest things that any woman can go through. And I went through deep, dark depression throughout those multiple losses, where even getting out of bed was just hard work. Eating, you just didn't have a zeal for anything. It was very painful, especially when I lost my twins at 20 weeks. You know, 20 weeks, you're halfway there. You bonded with them, you felt them move. And to go home with no children that you had prayed for and hoped for, it would break anybody. And it did break me. However, I'm a child of faith. For some reason, I never lost faith that I will have children. I believe the word of God as it is. When he says that the fruit of your womb will be blessed, and that his timing is not our timing, and his ways are not our ways. And he says, those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not faint. So even though my faith was tested through that time, I continued to believe. Yes, there were days when I couldn't pray because I just didn't know what to pray, what to say. And my family carried me through. My husband, my siblings, they were there to make it better, maybe. They couldn't take away the pain, but every single day they just wanted to know, how can we make it better for you? And I was surrounded by an amazing sisterhood. I've got great friends who've become family, you know. So it was a very that time pushed me to grow, to really grow up, and understand that suffering is inevitable. I'm currently reading the Book of Joy by Dalai Lama and Archbishop Ududu. They both wrote this book. It's called the Book of Joy. And the book, they highlight somewhere that suffering is inevitable in life. Challenges are inevitable. But how we choose to respond to that is our choice. So I had to choose to respond to my pain by working through it and processing it so I could get to the other side. And I got to the other side, and on the 18th of April 2005, I held the most beautiful boy in my arms. And you know, the book almost feels like I've been to therapy. It's been very cathartic to write this book, and it's a book of healing. I found my healing through writing,
Interesting.
and God has restored me from my brokenness, and that's why the title is My Journey of Hope, because when you look at hope, it stands for hold on, pain ends.
I was smiling alone when I read that the lady who looked after you when you were a baby continued to be with you until Nati was born. Tell us about your relationship with Rakgadi.
Oh, Rakgadi is an angel on 2 feet. I mean, what a blessing she is. As Rakgadi ne, I don't know what I would be without her, what I would do without her. Consistent, loyal, protective. Rakgadi has never had a bad day. You know, we wake up and sometimes I was on left or on right. Not Rakgadi. Rakgadi is consistent, dotes over the children. So the children call me mommy, and they call Rakgadi mama. And it's been such a blessing. She's my mother. You know, at 45 years later, she's still with us and helping us raise the tribe now. They don't make them like that anymore. Kindest soul. She's just, you know, when I say she's an angel on 2 feet, she's an extraordinary human being. Extraordinary. And, you know, I've got so many memories about Rakgadi and in her travels, and just, she's been a true gift. If one thing I've been blessed with as part of my family is Rakgadi.
Wow. Now, let's talk about Romeo. How did you meet and why is he your rock?
We met SABC days, gosh. He used to work at SABC in heading up sales and marketing. And I used to deliver a top billing tape every week. You know, back in the days, we didn't stream content. You literally went and submitted the actual tape for transmission. So I used to bump into him around the corridors, and I think he also knew, okay, on such a day she comes at this time to drop off the tape. So oftentimes this guy is around the corridors, and he should be in the office working. He just such a sweetheart of a charmer, saying that, you know, he'd like me to take me out. I'm like, oh gosh, this guy's too good looking. He's just trouble. I'm just asking for trouble. This is just not where I want to go. And after, you know, him being insistent, I decided, okay, let me give the guy a chance. You know, let's just go out for tea, coffee. You know, let's see where this goes. And 22 years later, we're still together, married for 19 years, and we dated for 2 to 3 years before we got married. He's just such a grounded human being, kind-hearted. He's a great dad. He's a present father to his children, and just watching him raise his kids, and how he's raising them consciously, intentionally, purposefully, just makes me fall in love with him every day. That he just wants the best for them and for them to be the best version of themselves. Yeah.
Talking about top billing, while you were there, you met many inspirational people, but let's just single out Oprah Winfrey as well as Luther Vandross. That must have been the best highlights. But tell us about Luther Vandross as well, when you had to ditch your sister.
No, my sister still hasn't forgotten, hasn't forgiven me about that. Actually, funny enough, 2 weeks ago, we were chatting about that. We were listening to, some Luther. She says, "Girl, you still owe me. You dumped me for a boyfriend to go to interview Luther." So it was a friend's wedding, Augustine Masilela, and my sister was a matron of honor at the wedding. And the interviews happened on that day. So, of course, I tell my sister, "Listen, girl, you won't believe who I'm interviewing today. Luther Vandross." Ngapha boyfriend naye ngiyamtshela ukuthi, "Babes, you won't believe who I'm interviewing. Luther Vandross." So he's like, "You know I'm coming with you, right?" I'm like, "Okay, but my sister also wants to come." And with the press junkets, you can't come with a whole entourage. How? This broadcaster is not serious. So anyway, long story short, at the wedding, they were doing the vows at the front, and so it was time to go to the junket. It was happening at the West Cliff. The wedding was in town. Bonane, I just said to my boyfriend, "Let's go." We went, did the interview. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. He gave me one of the best interviews. And I remember walking in, because a previous broadcast had just walked out, and he was saying, "Oh, he was as difficult as nails. He just wouldn't give me anything." Excuse me. So I walk in and I have to now be interviewed by, interview Mr. Luther Vandross. The minute I walk in, he says, "Girl, you look so fine. You make Naomi Campbell look like a man." That was so funny. So, I often don't refer to, and talk about Naomi herself, but so I normally say, he just said, "Girl, you look so fine. You make a supermodel look like a man." And then I settled nicely. Because I always still get nervous to do interviews. And the minute when these people were running us down to say, "Okay, it's enough now," he says, "Leave the girl alone. Let's chat, darling." It was such a fabulous interview. And then, of course, my sister later learned to go to, mina ngihambile ngamushiya. Ngaya interview uLuther, ngahamba nomuntu wami. Okusazi umuntu wami futhi namhlanje. So I've got such fond memories of my broadcasting days. Even the interview with Oprah and Madiba, when we went to spend time a whole day at Kuno, when she was doing her Christmas kindness campaign. And can you imagine? You spend an entire day with Oprah and Madiba. It doesn't get better than that. I literally felt that I had transcended into another realm of existence with these two icons. And still blows my mind to this day, that whole experience.
You had a very close relationship with your sisters, your mother, and your father. Tell us about them. I remember reading about your dad, the way he used to dress. And
my dad was a rock star. My dad was the sharpest dresser in the hood. Baba, even after he had retired, he'd wake up in the morning, get ready, wear a 3-piece suit. Afage tops, afage amafloshem or inon bush. My dad absolutely loved looking good. And I think we also take it from him, because he often used to say, "People are attracted to those who glow." Baby girl, before you step out of my house, look at yourself in the mirror one more time, because the world is a stage. It felt like you're living with your own motivational speaker in the house.
Wow.
My dad used to tell us that we are great, we are smart, we are loved. So we never had to seek validation from the outside world. And that instilled a sense of confidence in us. When your old man says, "You're just so smart," you didn't wait for the world to tell you. and so my dad and I were very, very close, and his passing also just broke me. Because my dad was never sick a day. My dad was never in hospital, not one day in his life. He had good health, and then he just has a stroke. He goes to ICU for 2 weeks, and then he doesn't make it. It was almost like this wall that I've always been leaning on. I was just yanked, and I was left bare and exposed because I always had this wall to lean on. My sisters and I mean, and my younger brother, we are each other's keepers. We were raised as a close-knit family. We fight each other's battles. We fight for each other. We believe in each other. We stand up for each other, and that's what our parents did, which was the best gift they could have given us. That we grow up close-knit, tight, as a unit, and be each other's keepers. I'm my father's child. I'm my sister's keeper. I'm my brother's keeper.
And your mom?
I'm my mother's child. I sometimes, when you become a parent, you always think, oh, I don't want, to grow up and be like my mom and shout like my mom. And now I hear my mother coming out of my voice. When I have to shout at my kids, I'm thinking, yo, mutter. Yeah, was I upset? No, I'm not gonna shout. And then, so in many ways, I took a lot of traits from my mom. My mom was brave, courageous. My mom was phenomenal in that she was so resolute to be able to give her children a better life that she didn't have. And hence she was so enterprising. My mom used to make curtains in the middle of the night on that singer machine to go and sell. She was remarkable. She often used to say that she would rather go with nothing so that we could have. So my mother was a woman of very little means in that she didn't covet the things of the world. She didn't like clothes. She always used to say, as long as ndisifakele nje i-overall yam or isishweshwe sam nee-slippers zam ndizele emsebenzini ndiyophangela abantwana bam. She was very selfless. But in so many ways, she was just, my mother was a force. You walked into a room and you knew there was a being that was larger than life, but in her quietness. My dad was the loud one. Oh, my dad was on a socialite. Serious. The neighborhood. He was known in the neighborhood. And my dad would be the one, when you won a competition, he's going to tell the whole neighborhood, honey. That, do you know that my daughter is Miss South Africa? Papa, don't. Please don't. How Miss South Africa? Yes, Papa, but. So, okay. And my mom, on the other hand, would be the quiet one. She had such incredible quiet strength.
Lastly, what would you say to ladies who are trying to make their careers work, be it in boardrooms or on sporting field, to motivate them to never give up?
Life is not easy. And women, we are challenged. We're triple challenged and triple disadvantaged. You're a woman, then you're black, and then you have a situation where you're not employed. When we look at the high rate of unemployment in our country, it's very disheartening. We look at JSE-listed companies, women who hold, who are chairmen and CEOs of companies, we're only sitting at 11.9%. When you look at directorships, in JSE-listed companies, we only sit at 27%. When you look at executive management level, as women, we're sitting at 29%. So it cannot be that we make up half of the population, and we are nowhere near being economically emancipated. We are nowhere near truly having the freedom to make better choices for our lives. Because you know what happens? When a woman is economically free, she does not necessarily stay in an abusive relationship. She makes better choices for herself, her body, for her children. And so for me, I want to see just government, policies, legislation, truly fast track the upward mobility of women in corporate South Africa, in boardrooms. Because if we don't do that, literally, companies are shooting themselves on the foot. You are literally not utilizing half the talent pool in this country that could contribute to the GDP. So for me, I want to encourage women to dare to dream, to push the boundaries, to break that glass ceiling. There must not be the glass ceiling. Literally, women have to also work together. This PhD mentality, pull her down syndrome, it's not going to take us anywhere. When you climb the corporate ladder and then you kick the ladder down so that somebody else mustn't climb, that's not the generation of women we want to become and the women we want to raise. We want to raise women who are paying it forward, who are bringing others along. When you run the race, you have to often, as you take your starting point, look back and say, whose hand can I take so we can run together? Because when we run together, we finish stronger. When we run together, we finish stronger. And women must not be afraid to try new things. You know, with the fourth industrial revolution, the reality is that we need more entrepreneurs because some of these jobs are becoming obsolete. We know for a fact, you know, it's already here. Artificial intelligence is taken over. And so what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? Entrepreneurship is what this country needs. And for me, I want to see a country where it's being even taught at school level. It needs to start there, at school level. It cannot be that you go to varsity and, you know, the first time you hear about a course in entrepreneurship, you're in university. We need to have it in the curriculum because then we're going to embed it as a skill that young people can be able to then use to start their own businesses. We need an ecosystem that's also going to make that possible, where there's legislation, where banking institutions are on board, where corporate South Africa is on board, where there's mentoring for young people who want to, you know, start businesses, startups, and if they want to, you know, scale their businesses, there's got to be that ecosystem that allows that. And so that's how, to a large degree, we will be able to at least survive this monster, so to speak, that's making people very nervous about their job security. And I believe government, in terms of representation, is doing a decent job. At least there's gender parity now. You know, and this is trailblazing because not many other countries can say it's 50-50 representation in parliament, in the assembly. But we need corporate South Africa to come on board, to fast track that, because then only together, collectively, both men and women, can we take this country forward.
That was Basetsana Kumalo speaking to Crema Media's Polity about her memoir titled Bassie, My Journey of Hope.